Okay, good afternoon. I am Anto Gutierrez. This is Monday Live. This is something that we do every Monday afternoon as we try and figure out what the future lies for smarter buildings. It's really good to have you with us today. In case you're wondering who we are, our profiles are listed on mondaylive.org, so head over there. Just to also point out that views expressed here on this call are personal, not of any company or organization. That keeps us enables us to say what we want. That's the idea. And do post questions and comments on Zoom chat to make this interactive. I think especially today, we want to make this as interactive as possible as we finish out 2025. So in December, as we wrap up this year, we've been sort of decomposing our thinking and about all of this. It's been pretty interesting. And our agenda today, after our news and trends, is that we want to think about this organization, about Monday Live. We want to decompose and recompose Monday Live over the course of this hour and really try and figure out what we should be doing next year in 2026 to bring the most value to smarter buildings and the industry. So looking forward to that conversation. But and also on a programming note, we're going to be dark next week and the week after on those two Mondays. So we'll come back next year on January the 5th. Looking forward to that. So from all of us here, wishing you happy holidays for the next couple of weeks, and stay safe and stay warm. It's very cold, certainly in the East Coast anyway. I'm going to hand it over to Ken for an update from Automated Buildings. Ken, what's going on?
Thanks, Anto. Happy best of the season to everyone and all of theirs. Automated Buildings as well. We didn't have a fancy graphic prepared, but here's our normal slide. Over in the left-hand corner, starting at the top there, what I wanted to do is I wanted to point out that there are other movements that are moving towards digitalization, and we're starting to see some of that in our industry. If you don't know what LoRa is, it's probably worthwhile to understand a little bit better. It's a wireless technology, which suggests that it can be deployed extremely fast. I suspect you'd be surprised that you would probably find some of them already in your building that have infiltrated. You may or may not know about them because they haven't had to attach to your networks. Anyway, 1.25 million was their press release. And if you want to know more about LoRa, if you click on the words below, it takes you there. The slide below that, we have the summary of last Monday's Monday Live, the blueprint for HVAC, the next era, no dumb buildings. It comes up with some good recommendations. I always like the way AI does the summary. It always provides us a summation of what it is we're talking about, which is good. Kimon has been busy, very busy. He was just back from his urban intelligence tour there to San Diego, and now he's on his way to Vegas, and he's got this little quick video out, and all of these on this link to his videos. He's doing a great job of kind of pulling together the whole landscape. Automated Buildings is part of it. AHR Expo is part of it. C4SB is a big part of it. I was actually glad that he had done that to take a slice at pulling together the whole landscape of what's going on. So we have a link there to his article or his post from San Diego, and he also has some interviews there that you can go listen to. and get an idea what people are thinking. We, of course, are hard at promoting our AHR Expo. What we've done is we've taken the coordinator of each of the sessions and put them as the featured speaker, but when you click on it, it actually takes you to their session. Now we're also using those same ones, as if you see Keith there, Keith has actually posted his own and takes it in his own direction. So if you see somebody's picture twice, click on it, you might get different information. I think also it's an easy way to ease into the AHR Expo site. That site can be a bit overwhelming when you're just coming into it to try and find out where our programs are. But if you click on these and keep moving through, then it links directly to the particular part of the AHR Expo website, and you can see actually what's happening, room numbers, and you can put it on your show planner and all that kind of good stuff. The BACnet Collective has had a tremendous impact. As soon as it got posted on the update got posted on C4SB, I posted it. I guess we're struggling a bit with the name as to whether it's managed services or whether it's BACnet Cloud Collective. It appears the preferred name is BACnet Cloud Collective. We were up about 900 impressions on that very quickly. Within 4 or 5 hours, we were up to 400 or 500. So there's a lot of people that are interested in what and where BACnet is going, which is kind of obvious. The other thing, just down the two bottom corners there, the one is CES. CES is on in Vegas as well, and there would be a good place to go and find out more about LoRa. And it's a big, I don't know if you've ever been to one. It's a very big convention, probably bigger than AHR, and it's consumers electronics is the theme there. And the LoRa is coming at us from that angle as well. But it's interesting to see because a lot of times you can see the future at that session as well. And that colorful engine is Haystack, which is kind of amazing. Haystack's always been pretty quiet in the marketing area. I was pleased to see them come alive, and they're basically got some sessions and things. If you click on there, it'll take you to the post and off to Haystack. And I think that's about it. Back to you, Anto.
Thank you, Ken. Over to Rick. Rick.
Good afternoon. Yeah, we've been actually working on getting these working groups to get ready for AHR and get presentations ready. And we talked the last couple of weeks about how the different leaders of the working groups have been asked to prepare something like a TED Talk sort of thing, so that we'll present at AHR. The next slide we'll go to that in a second, but the next slide will actually show what is the working schedule for 3 days worth of presentations that we will have at the on the trade show floor at AHR. And there's all the educational sessions that are either that have already been talked about, that are the part of automated buildings or part of the Landmark track or part of other ASHRAE tracks, etc. Those are all happening as I keep saying upstairs, but I think we're all on the same floor. But regardless, there's all the educational sessions, but then there's going to be a series of sessions that'll be on the trade show floor. And again, what I want to highlight is that it's this list of working groups that's going to be making presentations on the showroom floor. If we go to the next page, the next slide, yeah, there it is. I'm going to try and get this to Ken and to others to be able to start to share what the proposed schedule looks like. We've got a couple of openings, we've got a couple of repeats that may or may not happen, but there's a couple of additional sessions that some of the working group leaders are working on. But right now, what we're going to be trying to highlight is, again, the different things that are happening with C4SB. Um, There'll be quite a bit of detail about what's happening with the PAE reference building. There will be quite a bit of discussion about what's happening with digital building profiles and how that is evolving rapidly. Then there will be presentations about a wide variety of other topics that are happening inside of C4SB. So, it's hard to keep track of all the different moving parts of all the different working groups, but we're kind of putting a stake in the ground for that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday timeframe on the showroom floor for people to be able to put together their presentation, and then hopefully have people standing around and watching the presentations.
The presentations will be right at the booth?
Right at the booth. The way that the booth is set up, there's a big screen that's sort of on the left-hand side, the side that's closest to the BACnet booth, by the way. So there's a big screen, and there'll be a podium in front of it. And so the presenters will stand in front of the screen, do their presentation with or without slides on that screen. And then there will be cameras recording and cameras, and then that content will be made available pretty immediately for posting and AI probably summarizing.
Do you have a booth number yet?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay. Could you include that when you share the information? That would be good. Because this is kind of unusual in the fact that all of our education sessions are in the meeting rooms, and you're out on the floor, correct? Out on the exhibit floor?
Yeah, these are 5 or 10-minute sessions. We'll be trying to highlight the sessions that are happening or summarizing the sessions in some cases that are happening up in your, like, as I say, upstairs.
Yeah, okay. And I think Kimon's been doing some work kind of trying to pull all of that together, what C4SB is doing, what ASHRAE is doing, what Automated Buildings is doing, and I think you might even have a few other things you had on there, Kimon.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna be doing interviews as well too. So I'm trying to take all these schedules and figure out where the overlaps are, because there are going to be overlaps, right? We just need to figure out what. I'll put a link into the post, the schedule but I'm going to take this now and actually add it to that, Rick.
Right.
Yeah, actually, that's good. Yeah, the pieces it's getting built as we talk, which is good. Okay,
Real time.
All right. Very cool. Thank you, Rick. Everyone else.
Shout out to Pete Scanlon for helping get this pulled together at the last minute here.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Pete. All right, moving on. Here's a quiz. Can anybody guess what that is?
The detector.
Huh?
Can I go on mute?
Comes
Can
in
you
handy.
can you stop the
In
recording?
handy at bars, I guess, when you're trying to pick
Okay,
up.
The
okay.
Epstein files.
All right, it's got nothing to do with the Epstein files.
Finding
It
stuff
is-
behind the wall.
Hugh Hefner had one of those things, I think.
It is a measuring tape, of course. But it's a measuring tape to measure Lego.
Hey.
And I just thought it was weird that they made this, and they obviously do. And it's really clever. It's this double-sided measuring tape. On one side, you can measure how many studs you're measuring, like this guy's doing here. And on the other side, instead of metric and inches and stuff like that, you have another measure that measures the height of blocks. So you can measure the height of a building, because then you can sort of measure everything.
Wow. I think little 9-year-old boys would have a blast with that thing, maybe playing with it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the reason I put it up here is because I was just scanning through some magazine and I saw this and saw all the work we've done with Legos, and studs being a very critical part of it. So anyway, this is just tooling for the kids for Lego. much in the same way that I suspect we're going to have tooling for what we're doing if we're going to go down that path. So anyway, just a bit of fun for the end of the year.
Excellent.
It's a compliance checker.
There you go.
You know,
All right.
I'm looking at our the list that you got all the faces across the board. I'm looking at you, Kimon, and Rick. You guys got this vibe, this kind of cool vibe going on. If I look at the top, y'all got the
End of the,
black sweaters on, the glasses, and you guys look pretty clean over there.
end of the year, we're relaxed.
Yeah.
Anything else from anyone else?
So we're trying to transition from nerds to studs. Is that the theme?
Exactly. Oh, no, you guys looking pretty cool there, man. Very studly.
Okay. I can tell this is going to be a fun session. All right. So we've been talking about a whole bunch of things the last few weeks, just to remind ourselves. We're all talking about now about how to decompose our thinking. It's just kind of a framework, a framing of how we're sort of thinking about our mission here of figuring out buildings. We went down this path of sort of understanding the sort of monolithic glued sort of construction depicted by the castle here, and comparing that with the studs that we now know we can measure. And we also spent quite a bit of time the week before last or last week, I can't remember now, going through the example of decomposing in action with the PAE building. That was really good. And last week we talked about how the industry itself is morphing and changing, and again that's very very strong in terms of what that sort of tells us. So the question is, since this group exists to as a thought leadership, to have this sort of weekly gathering to talk about the future of the industry and the smarter buildings, how should we reconstruct ourselves? Does this even make sense for us to do this so that we can prepare for 2026 next year? So that's really the sort of the framing of this show here, and there's really nothing else so far as slides. I'm going to stop the slides and just open up the conversation. Who wants to start?
You started
Everybody.
Monday Live. Why don't you tell us why you started Monday Live originally, and then that might
Okay.
lead us
Okay.
all on to,
All right.
to just maybe do a little preamble and how long it's been on. Just give us a better pitch.
Yeah, it was March, I think it was March of 2020, as we started to hear the news around the world that countries were locking down because of this thing that we were learning about called COVID. I remember just standing on my back porch thinking, oh God, what's going to happen now? How am I going to, how do I work? How do I communicate with all my colleagues, blah, 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 because I can't travel, can't go to conferences and all that kind of stuff. So we started basically a Wednesday call, Wednesday at 5 Eastern, that we started. And the purpose of that call initially was not Monday Live. It wasn't trying to do what we're trying to do here. It was just about 20 people, 20 of us were just gathering every Wednesday just to have a chat with each other and compare notes as to how COVID was evolving in wherever they are. So that evolved into a sort of a weekly conversation, which was which I think all of the participants were very glad that we were doing this, because the world was changing outside. And then as we were doing that over after a few weeks, we kind of started to talk about, we initially talked about, people were complaining that they couldn't get wine, or you had to walk. Remember the days when you could only walk up and down the aisles of a grocery store one way? You remember that? We were talking about those kind of crazy things. And then we started to say, okay, so what's this going to do to buildings? And this is going to impact buildings. And we started to have that sort of internal conversation. And out of that came the idea of why don't we do these conversations that we've been having on these Wednesdays open to the public and do it as a public session. So we went through over a couple of weeks discussing it, brainstorming it, and we thought it was a good idea. We would give it a try. Went down the path of trying to figure out what the name would be, blah, blah, blah. We decided on Monday Live, and we went through a process of deciding when we were going to do that. Obviously, it's going to be Monday, and Monday 3 p.m. is it. So the first show that we did was, I believe the date was April 27th, 2020. And we've been going ever since. We take breaks in the summer and obviously for public big holidays and at the end of the year as we're doing now. But that was why this thing exists, and it's now been going for over 5 years. Going to be 6 years next April, which is incredible. Really I can't imagine it's been 6 years, and it's been a lot of fun conversations. I think a lot of meaningful conversations, and I'm hoping, and I'm gonna throw it to Ken. Just to comment on the sort of the changes in that same period of time over those 6 years, and the sort of tracking the changes that's happened in the industry, and also tracking that to what we've been talking about. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Very much so. Yeah, that's a great segue into it. So I was one of the original ones on your Zoom, and I guess that was the other thing, is that's when we discovered Zoom, and that's when we all became comfortable talking online. The other thing for me as a publisher of a magazine, it was a great opportunity to touch base with you guys and get your information. And so we kind of evolved as that evolved, and Automated Buildings changed from being a monthly online magazine to more of a platform that you folks could edit directly. And there's two things happening. The industry was getting very wide, where it was fairly pointed before. We were touching a whole bunch of things we'd never touched before, clouds and AI and just a whole bunch of subject matter. The discussions we had were incredibly informative, and we found that the Zoom was a great method of documenting it. So anyway, we kind of built our whole model on that, is that we saw that we had to change as a publication. We had to become more of a platform, and we had to step aside and let you guys speak. So we became like a publication platform. And to test it, Monday Live was the perfect field, because when we did things, you get feedback real quick. So that was good. Anyway, so here we are, and I think it's working well. Everybody's more comfortable with video, with
Ken was having internet problems. Maybe he's gone back to that mode. Jim, do you want to comment on?
Sure. I think that what I'd like to point out is that since we started Monday Live, the effects of COVID and the acceleration that happened afterwards has caused the industry to really transform appreciably. Whereas we were still in a bid and spec construction-driven market before, we've evolved more towards an operating market now, where people are more concerned with outcomes and realizing that those outcomes can't be baked in advance for 30 years and cast into a building and expected to serve the needs of the occupants and owners of buildings. So that dynamism has brought a lot of changes to the way that the market and the business of building automation runs. and has accentuated and accelerated the trends. So I'm interested in talking about that and reformulating how we think about the industry and Monday Live in particular when addressing where the value is and skate to where the puck's going to be in the future in our industry.
Ken, you're back. Obviously, you're still having internet problems. Do you want to just close out your comments?
We're having really strong winds here at Storm Sitting, and there was a real bust of wind, and then I lost my internet, so I can only figure a tree from. Mine comes via cable for a lot of the way, so I'm thinking that's what happened. Anyway, we're back on G5, so good. I think I was pretty close to finished. It was probably a good way to get me to stop talking. Just drop a tree on my internet. So back to you.
Yeah, we'll try that next time. Well, when
The
you go
virtual
along,
tree.
cut the tree, yes. One of the things that sort of that I've noticed is that prior to doing Monday Live, for about 10 years, I was organizing conferences. And I think I got to about organizing half a dozen of them a year. And what I was noticing was that with conferences, you have a cadence. You kind of have a yearly cadence or a twice yearly cadence, right? You go to a conference, you say, "Hi, Jim, good to see you. Haven't seen you for 6 months," whatever it is. "See you next year here," right? You're coming back here. One of the things that I noticed with Monday Live is the cadence is now weekly, right? So that's massive change because we can literally talk about things and test it in the sort of in a Monday Live show and almost make a decision immediately. That's a bad thing. That's a bad concept, or is a good one, or tested, whatever, and can actually evolve it. Just the cycle of innovation. Ultimately, I think it's been very much very well helped. But open it up to others. Steve, what's your thoughts of this journey that we've been on? And you're muted. You're both muted.
Double mute.
Okay, now I'm not.
Yay.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, the start around COVID was all about surviving the unknown and the impact on the business, and that lasted for basically a year. And the big thing that happened out of that was, I would say, was the impact on office occupancy and the way offices are being designed, and that's being reflected to this day, and in terms of its impact. But the audience for us during that time was a lot more related to providers, service providers, if you will, service systems integrators, distributors, and now our audience, we've evolved much more into a technology-driven focus and identifying specific issues that are have been, I guess, hindering adoption of our smart technology, and that involves people who really want to get into the weeds and facilitate that conversation. So it's definitely been that evolution, and I think for that reason, we're seeing fewer, systems integrators and who are participating in that conversation. That's understandable. So the main thing that we've been focused on in that regard has been interoperability, not just within the HVAC industry, but across all the silos, if you will, of our industry. And while that conversation has been going on, there's been significant technology trends that have moved rapidly, including migration to the cloud and artificial intelligence. So if you think about it, Otto and guys, those trends have manifested in a 4-year time period. That's remarkable. Yeah. So
Yes.
forget 20, forget 21. But basically 22 through 25 is when those two trends have become very visible. And, I just, look at Keith, your business in particular, right? You're a cloud provider, you leverage AI, and that's impressive relative to 4 years ago. You probably were already thinking that way, but that was the thought stage, right? Now it's been implemented in many regards. So,
Yep.
I think,
April Fool's Day 2020.
yeah. So there you go.
Appropriately enough.
So the question is, what's next for us, right? So we've really zeroed in on this whole interoperability question, and fortunately, concurrently, the whole Linux Foundation, C4SB, has evolved in something very tangible, very significant, and it's allowing us to kind of step away now from trying to drive the need for a whole new interoperability paradigm and letting C4SB run with it. So that's terrific. So what's next? And to me, that's what I just like to see us stay flexible on, and be our kind of mantra, or our reason to be is driving the industry, continuing to drive the industry overall to address issues that aren't being well addressed, that would again facilitate the adoption of smart technology buildings.
Yeah, that's a interesting perspective. The world has moved on significantly. Folks in the audience, if you feel compelled to want to say something, put your hand up, and I'll switch on the button that says "Allowed to talk." But meanwhile, how about handing it over to Rick?
Uh-oh. In my evil plot. Yeah. Spears. Yeah, after y'all started Monday Live, and I was watching from the audience, the idea of trying to advance this interoperability agenda through coordinated effort of taking on some of the technology issues. It seemed to me, as a technology geek and a and a market development person, it's like, if this group of incredible talent could help come together and solve some of the interoperability problems, we could drive some expectation changes, drive policy change maybe at the federal or state levels, and that's how C4SB got sort of started and intersected with Monday Live, and if, as Steve says, that the pivot has happened to be a little bit more about technology. Well, I think that's great, because as a technology person, I think that if you can you show people that the technology can have a major impact on what they're doing, whether they're an owner or a OEM or a integrator or just casual bystander. But if you can show how the technology can have a significant impact, it's kind of the flywheel gets started. Somebody's got to go first. The chicken and egg has got or a cat. But to be able to focus on, let's solve some of the interoperability challenges with the coalition of the willing here. It was exciting, and then sure enough, we got the attention of the Linux Foundation, and the Linux Foundation, I think, brings additional sense of people know how to participate. They're confident in how everything's going to be governed, that they have agency, and they have people and companies know that things are being done in a community-based way. So I think that the Monday Live evolution, and then the intersection with C4SB and the Linux Foundation, has been, again, for better or worse, it's turned a lot of attention towards the technology issues, and I think that that's been good.
Others weigh in this conversation? Keith, Timon?
Yeah, I can say a few things here. Yeah, some observations since you talked about the origins of Monday Live. That's interesting. COVID triggered it, right? But it also changed the whole world around us overnight, regardless of Monday Live. That firsthand with, for example, we've been working in the cloud for a couple of decades and we've been trying to get owners to get comfortable working in the cloud. And it's all about, well, security or this or whatever. And it's interesting when COVID hit just overnight, some of these government agencies that the day before COVID hit, we were getting sensitive or sensitive but unclassified data burned onto CDs delivered by FedEx to our door, and we had to sign off on that. And then all of a sudden, everything was okay in the cloud because that was the only choice. That trigger, I think, is interesting that we can, and then a lot of other things happened after that. Right? I mean, AI and geopolitics and everything that changed things. So being uncomfortable with the current status quo is something that I think we've all changed for a long time. And now seeing what COVID did that triggered the shift in the status quo. Do we have to wait for another event like that to change the industry? We don't have to. We actually have the ability to ask the tough, the more valuable things that we would be doing here, asking the tough questions and showing the value and helping to change the industry. And that's it's my personal opinion, I guess. Yeah.
I,
But
See that.
you're also part, Timon, you're also part of this sort of the expansion of Monday Live, because when we started, I'm pretty sure, but all of the people were all HVAC or controls or automation focused. Everybody in the initial Monday Live, right? And we've been trying to expand that, and you're part of that sort of trend.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, exactly. And in fact, it even goes back to what you were talking about when the conference you started years ago. First exposure I had to connecting to
it's
building
true.
systems automation was how many years ago? Was that 15 years ago? I don't
Yeah.
remember anymore.
oh, 20
Kind of what
plus.
got me.
Yeah, 20 plus. I mean, it's
Right.
like 2003. Nobody was talking about using XML and JSON. Well, JSON wasn't even there. It was Ajax, I think, at the time. But I mean, and that kind of leads me to my Kimon, I agree with you. I think, everything is impossible until it's not. Like, look what happened over the weekend. Like, I don't know how many of you heard, but FSD has come alive. It's real. In Austin, they actually removed the safety drivers from the autonomous robo taxis. So the debate is over whether or not a car can be autonomous and be fully self-driving. I mean, you can actually there in Europe, you can actually text, I believe, while you're riding inside a Tesla. Like, that's how safe it is. So, and I think we're pretty close, if not already there, with full self-driving for buildings. And so I think we should focus on this team. We should focus on what's possible and not what we think is impossible, because there's all kind of stuff and I've said this before about when fault detection, diagnostics, and optimization packages came out, years ago. Jim, you and I were part of that. Everybody's talking about how FDDs wouldn't work unless we had, sufficient data sufficiency, and we needed IDLs and all this other stuff. And then we just went ahead and ignored that and released it. And I think it's the same thing with AI. We're ready to go right now. So let's focus on what's possible in the industry and not try to, just speculate on how it's not going to arrive. Because we need to be the champions of change and of what's possible in the industry and not dwell on what we need to get there. I mean, that's yonder star type thinking. In fact, that's one of the things that I disenfranchises me with other conferences. Anto, that was a big deal about your conferences and your approach, BuildCon and all that stuff. It wasn't focusing on this yonder star and kicking the can down the line and saying one of these days we'll be able to connect buildings up together. I'm not going to name any names, but I mean, there are conferences still talking about that. I got news for you. We connected buildings together in the 80s, 70s. Like we were already there. So we've already done that. So yeah, we need to move forward and talk about what's possible and what's actually happening in the industry and be these champions of change.
today and not wait for the perfect and build it up incrementally. 'Cause there's a
We
lot
don't
of
need
talk.
perfect.
Yeah.
We just need better than human beings. That's all we need. We don't need perfect
Right.
protection.
Yeah.
Well said, Keith. Well said.
Thank
I think the other thing is that what the Monday Live platform has given us too is it's given us a way um, to tell the world what it is we're doing. And what's happened there is we found uh, different groups in the world that are doing a similar thing differently. And I think that's an incredible value. And again, I'd go back to Kimon on that in the fact that he came into our little HVA world and kind of introduced us to the BIM. And I was there with Anto in the first BIM storm that we did out of Santa Clara there. And we sat, I think I even had a flip phone when we did our BIM storm. So I mean that's how long ago that was. But the point is you touch another technology or another thought pattern, and that's how we grow really rapid. And we can't lose that. We can't get pigeonholed into doing what we think is the right way because there's so many people working on this puzzle of visualization of everything and autonomy of everything that we need to stay open. And the connection to the Linux thing was another brilliant bridge in the fact that there was all this stuff that's being done, the Uber airlines, all these things, these old, their systems are a worse mess than ours, and somehow they weave them all together. And that's very comforting, I think. And for us to find champions and examples like that is cardinal. And again, the communication of our thought is an important piece of that. And the fact that I think our publication platform is useful because it's not me talking, it's you talking. And when you mention something, then somebody from one of these other things says, wow, what you're doing is really interesting. And Jim Lee, you often point out that we've done all of this stuff but we've never did a good job of telling anybody what it is we're doing. And now that we're their jam and our jelly, it's all coming together. So I think it's important that we keep that pressure on.
I think it's great, Ken. I also think that, some of the comments on chat are key, that we need to worry about channels and how this industry works, because there has been an evolution over time, and not at the same time, because this is still a channels industry. And, we don't have a lot of building owners on this call. We don't have a lot of end users involved in the discussion. In some forums I'm participating in, we're beginning to see more end users, but still, it's a channel story. And how we get the word out is a question of how we can interface and talk to those channels that are existent. So as the industry decomposes around us on its own, the traditional branch structure ways to reach business and to reach customers are going away. And more independents are walking into that territory and taking it. The question is that, traditionally those independents have not had the technology or the level of sophistication to handle technology that's needed. So as we evolve the industry, we're going to see different players grow up that can help those independents scale this interoperability of technology. And I'm very interested, going forward as to see how we can help that evolution of channels in our business, empower those local building contractors that want to add this value, but heretofore don't have the capability to do it.
Okay, so I think what we've done is we've decomposed Monday Live. That's what we've been doing the last 30 minutes or so. Let's put it back together. How do we recompose it? Is there anything that we need to do different? Is sort of the framing of that question.
I think
Or should we just
sorry. No, go ahead.
I was just saying, or should we just continue as we are, or should we stop, or what should we do? We have
I think the big thing is I'd like to build on what Jim was talking about there is getting some more of these end users. I think the end users that are dreamers, I think are who we need. And if Keith's still listening, I think that's what's always propelled him, is you've always been able to find the end users that are dreamers,
Well,
and they basically adopt your dream.
yeah, and it's social proof. So it's just not a bunch of vendors going back and forth as keyboard warriors. Like if you dispute our results, then you're not disputing Facil's results, you're disputing your peers and other customers in the industry, and nobody's going to do that. Like they're not, because we've got the social proof and the empirical data, and we're not driving it. Our customers are.
How many awards do you have to win?
Yeah, and I mean, Kenny's sitting here with me. I mean, it's like, we're also being validated with, awards. Like we just got the U.S. Green Buildings Council Award for AI innovation at Cal State Dominguez Hills, and also for our company. So yeah, there's a lot of social proof going on, and yeah, this stuff is real. So yeah, it's time to embrace it and move on and start, maybe a little bit of competition, like maybe some other companies could start, we start getting into this stuff, and not saying that it's not time for it. Time is now.
But just a quick one on that too, is my history. I fell into the industry, and I fell into the industry as a technology enhancer, I guess, or trying to understand, basically to take traditional controls and first make them digital and stuff like that. But I fell into an environment that I now look back was very unreal to all of you. I was working for the director of energy for a university, sort of same thing. And this guy, he just did whatever he thought should be done. And he had a budget, back in those days, a $4 million budget to create a DDC system. And that I was part of it. So I just thought, oh yeah, this is how this industry works pretty good. There's hardly any politics.
Yeah.
You just had to technically come up with an information. And then I went and I started working for the BC Building Corporation and had a similar thing. I had basically access to the C-suite. And anything I was able to do, I now understand, was because I was empowered. And we hear a lot of you guys feeding back and venting. You're telling me the frustration of the system. And if you can get rid of the damn system and just do what it is, your technology thing, this is easy and fun.
Yeah. Coincidentally, Ken, I just was talking to an old friend of yours, Rick LeBlanc, on Friday, and he told me about, you guys are fellow Canadians, and he told me about a lot of that early stuff that you were doing with Sinclair Systems and with the universities out there, like, again, decades ago. Yeah, he's joined us on our board and advisor, and so we're very happy to have Rick LeBlanc join our team.
But way back when, he was with MCC Powers, and that the SCU
Yeah.
was the standalone control unit.
System
was one of
600.
the first products. And as soon as we had people building stuff, we pointed, build something that looks like that.
Yeah.
It's cheaper and faster, and that's what happened.
So, there's nothing new under the sun. I mean, it's like deja vu, back to the
Yeah.
future kind of thing.
But what we need to do is we need to reach out to those people, the educated owner, or the vested owner, ever what you want to call them. And we need to somehow build bridges. I think that's our next task, and we have to get those people involved. When Kenny came on as a keynote speaker, that was great. We get a better understanding of how this is all kind of coming together and is actually used.
Yeah.
Sorry, enough. Release.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, haven't heard the word scale used on this conversation so far, in terms of growing the market, especially into different types of buildings, different types of application. How important is that? Clearly, accessing the known users is one thing, but is there not another sort of big area that we're really not focusing on? Who wants to pick up on that? Nobody.
Well, no, maybe all of us do, but I definitely do. And that a key objective of, well, my career has been the scaling, getting technology into everybody's hands, not just the big buildings or not just the rich companies, but the technology being better, faster, cheaper means it can be used more, wider, and deeper. And that's, I think, the next frontier of getting more systems connected, getting more data connected, getting more buildings, the advantages of digital technologies, and then the innovation that happens when you free the data, as Steve was talking about on the Wednesday call. We talk about data from our buildings, but really we're just barely scratching the surface of getting to a point where apps can, the innovation of apps can be brought to our industry. And the application, so digitization is one thing, but application is kind of a different, or maybe a different element or a different way to think about the digitization and the scale of technology. And where I think the most exciting part of what's to come, that's the most exciting part that we can potentially help shape. But the goal of being able to get more systems, deeper, wider, broader, better, faster, cheaper, it's a huge opportunity, and we're just barely scratching the surface.
That should be music to ears of vendors, Steve. You have probably the most experience with actually working for vendors. What do you think is going to happen there from the?
Well, I think in general, getting good, doing research from the customer level is hard for vendors. Okay? It's interesting. Jim has talked about on many of these calls the continued transition away from branch offices to independents. And so, traditionally the Johnsons and Honeywells of the world and Siemens had a large, branch office network. And so they were close to the customer. And that is unquestionably valuable. But if more and more of the business is going through independence, so how do the manufacturers who are, going to get their, good information, really accurate information from what the customers are thinking? So if we can make the effort to bring end users into these conversations on Monday, that's going to be very valuable to the industry. And I think it'll broaden our exposure as well, right? So people, more of the people we want to reach who are listening to us, if the word gets out that, hey, Monday Live is really bringing some great insights from end users, that's going to be very helpful. And at the same time, because we are not all end users know what's happening, so we're providing a lot of good information about what's possible to the end users at the same time. So it's a two-way street. So we're helping them become aware of what's possible now with all the evolving technologies and interoperability associated with it. But at the same time, we're able to get a much clearer idea of what it is they want and what it is they're willing to pay for. And that's probably the most important thing, is what are they willing to pay for?
Hey, Tracy, good to see you here.
Yeah, sorry, just in time to say goodbye.
Yeah, we've been decomposing Monday Live, and we're sort of slowly recomposing it back, talking about scale. And obviously, as you heard, Steve was talking about trying to bring a different additional audience that are sort of more building owners. Do you have any thoughts as we start to wrap up? Tracy?
I'm a little bit frozen here. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
can hear you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right. What did you ask? It cut out just a little bit.
Just as we think about how Monday Live is going to continue in 2026, bringing the sort of new perspectives in. We've been figuring it out basically as a group of mostly vendors and channel. with very little input from the sort of our collective customer.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Do we
So
need to change that?
yep, I agree with that as well. I think things are accelerating so quickly right now that we have to kind of have our ears open to what our customer base is asking for and be ready to move quickly. I think things are going to start to accelerate in our industry here quite a bit over the next few years.
Yeah, so I think the optimism is in the air and excitement.
Yeah, I agree.
Any other thoughts as we wrap up? What do we do different? 26.
I think we have to, we had in the Wednesday one, we had this discussion that the value we add of not being connected to any one of our creations was powerful. And we found that C4SB was one of those that when Rick explained to us the Linux philosophy of letting the user groups drive that process. And so therefore they did not feel they were in the promotion business. And I think we kind of got in between trying to help him promote his, like he is his own identity, and he basically is going to do what he's going to do, and basically in the environment of Linux, which is a powerful environment, and we can understand their philosophy, and that's possibly why they've been so successful, is they didn't do it. They let somebody else do it. And that's certainly the model Automated Buildings is following, is I can no longer provide, competent, coherent content, maybe is a better word, but you guys can. And individually, the fact that you can speak out with your own voice is important. So I think Monday Live has to keep its own voice. And when it creates something of quite significant value, which I would think, I don't know if you want to say C4SB was created with Monday Live, but it was certainly found and supported by Monday Live. That's great. But then we have to just understand that that's part of the mosaic. We just created another block of digitalization, a digitalization block. This one deals with policy, deals with a bigger picture. But once we get dragged into those, we possibly lose our value. I think obviously quite a few of the people on the screen here are part of the components of C4SB. That's significant, and I think they bring their expertise to that. But we have to never lose the value or the dream of Monday Live as the overarching organization.
And I'm just looking at that, the last chat there from Scott Simpson. I think that is very spot on. We've actually talked about that quite a bit. Maybe Rick would just want to touch on that, because that was the theme of the very first summit that we did in Atlanta back in 23 or 22 or whatever it was.
Yeah, how did we position that? It has something.
Faster horses.
Faster horses. Yeah. In
Yeah.
case anybody
The Henry Ford
quote.
statement.
Yeah.
Right.
Henry Ford said, yeah, if I would have asked them, they would have said they wanted faster horses. Meaning, you got to show people what they want. And then Steve Jobs famously stole that quote and pretended it was his, I think. But we all love Steve. But the idea of you got to show people what the art of the possible is, and get their imagination going. And that's not always been, well, that's how big innovations happen. And that's what we've got in terms of opportunity in front of us here. And again, how to take some obvious things and make it more accessible. That's one. How to take the next step with things, whether it's application or new kinds of solutions to old kinds of problems. We have a responsibility to show the market what's possible. But if we just keep asking them what they want, we go back to faster horses.
I got a closer too, as the Steve Jobs, the most powerful person in the world is a storyteller. And we now have a platform for you to easily tell your story. And we just need to keep moving in that direction. It's right at the top of my slide, is you can click on it and read the story of Steve Jobs, because we're all storytellers. And we have to tell the story in our own words. You can't give your story to somebody else and have them tell it. You've got to do it in your own words, because it comes through with the passion. So.
Let that be the last words of wisdom said on Monday Live in 2025. So with that, we'll wrap this. We'll get a video of that out soon, and we are wishing you a great next couple of weeks, holiday festivities and New Year's. Stay safe, and see you the other side.
We're back on January what?
January 5th.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
You all
Thanks,
have a
everyone.
wonderful
Happy
Bye-bye.
holidays.
Happy
Bye.
holidays.
Bye.